Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, talks imminent between the U.S. and Iran over Iran's nuclear program. Analysis from Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sharren Haskel. Plus, the wonder of coming home. Dozens of French Jews making Aliyah. And evacuated families from Israel's north return to their communities. And Rabbi Rabinul Weiss explains how to hold a sovereignty Seder. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. The U.S. and Iran are on the verge of sitting down for direct talks for the first time. What's at stake is the future of the Middle East and whether it will be war or the end of Iran's nuclear program.
The U.S.-Iran nuclear talks begin this weekend as a new report warns Iran's nuclear threat has worsened significantly. The Institute for Science and International Security warns that Iran has improved its nuclear weapons capabilities, that it takes less time to build those weapons, and that the idea of building them has gained more acceptance in Iran. The report also says the nuclear threat from Iran has increased significantly since February of last year. President Trump already warned Iran it has about 2 months to come to a deal or face military strikes.
We have a little time, but we don't have much time.
Who is starting the
because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon.
Can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Warning that Israeli security is on the line, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, writes the Americans could agree to a deal that lets the Iranians once again keep their nuclear facilities and centrifuges intact. Another Israeli concern is the Iranians will stall for time to finish developing such weapons and get ready to repel any attack to destroy their nuclear facilities. Iran denies it's building nuclear weapons.
We will provide whatever guarantee necessary to prove we are not seeking a nuclear bomb.
Trump has moved a massive amount of American military power into the Middle East that could strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranians are trying to neutralize that threat, warning Tehran might stop cooperating with the International Atomic Energy Agency and expel its inspectors if military threats against Iran continue. Here in Israel, a new report says the Palestinian Authority is still paying allowances to terrorists who've killed Israelis. The PA insists it stopped the infamous pay-to-slay program, but the watchdog group Palestinian Media Watch points out one PA employee's publication admitted some money being paid out is specifically for martyrs, prisoners, and the wounded. Meanwhile, both Trump and Israeli sources tell the Jerusalem Post it appears a new deal is close to getting the remaining hostages who are alive freed.
Want to get those 24 out really fast, and we're working on it very hard.
This comes after freed hostages traveled to Washington.
We are here because of President Trump. Thank you.
Israeli government spokesman David Mencer points out Jews in Israel and around the world are preparing for Passover, also known as the Festival of Freedom. That's when Moses cried out to Pharaoh, "Let my people go."
That cry is not just an ancient piece of history, it's our urgent living plea for the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sharren Haskel, talked with CBN News about the upcoming talks with Iran and also about why this year's Passover is so significant to the Jewish people. Is there a concern that perhaps Iran may be using these talks to delay any sort of military strike and continue its efforts to get a nuclear weapon?
Look, I won't be surprised. I can tell you that. But I think that what was shown is that there are talks in good faith in the hope, of preventing an escalation and in the hope to resolve this problem so that there won't be a threat on humanity, on countries like democratic, freedom-loving nations like Israel, like America, and many more countries in Europe, in South America, in Asia, and many more.
Yeah, we know that Iran really has its tentacles throughout the Middle East with the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, as well as many other militias. But you just came back from Malawi, and you had an agreement there with the government. Talk about that agreement and Iran's efforts there in Africa as well?
So Iran's tentacles are spreading all around the world. What you've seen in recent years in the Middle East, these are a result of Iran, the IRGC, going into pockets of instability in the Middle East and expanding them, pushing their influence, funding them to actual terrorist organizations. And that creates major instability, major political influence, Iranian influence, and that turns the Middle East into a complete chaos. They're doing the same thing in Africa now as well. They are going into countries seeking instability and trying to expand that. They're funding terrorist groups. You know, it's the same idea. Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Daesh, Hamas, the IRGC, the Houthis. This is the same idea, the same execution, but only different people from different countries. And so we have to be aware of that and try and be active strategically to prevent that escalation in the African continent as well. But I have to say as well, this is not just limited to the Middle East, Africa. This is happening in Europe. This is happening in South and Central America. I want to remind you that the biggest control of illegal drug and weapon trafficking routes in Central and South America are being held by Hezbollah. Hezbollah is the army of Iran. They have based themselves straight on your border. You need to understand that Trump's war on the cartel is not just a legal issue, a drug issue, a safety issue. This is a war against terrorist groups who are being funded by those activities, who are trying to spread their operation. Hezbollah is really trying to expand their operation on your southern continent, the Central America and South America. And so there has to be a strategy on how to push Iran out of these pockets of instability.
We're just a few days away from the celebration of Passover, something the Jewish people have done for over 3,000 years. You had a Seder with some of the hostages and their families, as well as many diplomats. How important is Passover to the Jewish people at this time?
Passover is one of our highest holiday, and it's a holiday of freedom. We were liberated from slavery in Egypt, shaking off those shackles of slavery, and starting our journey back to our homeland in Israel. And during these times of war, when we still have 59 hostages that we are fighting every single minute to bring them back home, we cannot take freedom for granted. It just reminds us, that every few generations, we're going through, persecution and liberation. And for us, for our generation now, the 7th of October, the hostages, everything that they've been through, the torture, the abuse, and the 59 hostages who are still in captivity, it has a completely different meaning. We value it, we cherish it, we don't take it for granted. It's very difficult.
Coming up, dreams fulfilled as they touch down on Israeli soil. What it means to a group of French Jews making Aliyah. Recently, nearly 50 Jewish immigrants from France made Aliyah to Israel. This unique flight served as an exodus from fear, as well as a return to a promise, thousands of years in the making. We were there to witness their moving arrival at Tel Aviv's David Ben-Gurion Airport. Leaving chaos behind, they arrived with hope in their hearts and Israel in their eyes. At 17, Deborah Safir wanted to make Aliyah, although her parents insisted she finish school.
And then life, you get married, you work, so it was difficult.
Her tears tell a story of longing and now fulfillment.
So happy, you can't imagine. A lot of emotion, I've been waiting this moment for 45 years. So finally I've made it. Sorry.
Noah traded fear for freedom.
Life in France is very, very, very hard for us. Everyone's anti-Semitic, basically. You have posters on the wall saying, "Free Palestine, boycott Israel," and I couldn't do this anymore. So, okay, left everything and I'm here and it's great to be here.
It's a move both daunting and thrilling.
Honestly, I'm anxious because I'm leaving everything behind, my family, my 4 siblings, everyone. I came alone and I'm just 22, so I'm basically just a baby. I'm also very excited for what's to come.
What's happening behind me is that these new immigrants are being processed, so by the time they leave, they'll have their new Israeli identity cards. They're coming at a time of a dramatic increase in anti-Semitic incidents in France, especially since October 7th.
Very difficult situation in terms of anti-Semitism right now. Just in recent events in the last few days alone, there have been alarming incidents. A rabbi was walking with his 9-year-old son coming from synagogue, was beaten up. I spoke to some of the officials there and they said to me, you know what was especially upsetting about this incident is that the perpetrator who beat up this Jew, he didn't even run away.
Here's people in Paris, which is most people's bucket list, to go to Paris, to see the Eiffel Tower, to see Notre Dame. And here's people saying, we want to get our families out of Paris, out of France, and come to a nation that has war around them on 6, arguably 7 sides, and yet they feel safer coming to Israel than staying in France. That's a sad thing that we need to stand up with as Christians with our Jewish brothers and sisters and change that.
France has the second largest Jewish population outside of the U.S. For many, life became a daily act of courage.
My children wanted me to, after the 7th of October, to take my mezuzah off the door. And I said, no way, I'm a Jew, and I'll keep the mezuzah.
This flight happened through the generosity of Pastor Larry Huck, an evangelical Christian who believes in the biblical mandate to bring the Jewish people home. For him, this isn't charity, it's covenant.
It feels like it's my family. It feels like I have a relationship. I saw him in France at the synagogue, saw him get on the plane, hugged them when they're coming out of the plane, hugged them when they came in, and it moved me more than I thought it would.
A homecoming thousands of years in the making.
But the exciting thing for us is that the Bible says that we as Gentiles will not only welcome them back, but will bring them in our arms and on our shoulders to fulfill Bible prophecy. So it's a double Bible prophecy. It's Jews returning to the promised land that God gave to Abraham 3,700 years ago, and Gentiles, Christians, instead of pushing them out of the land, we're bringing them back.
Today, that prophecy comes with a boarding pass, a luggage tag, and an identity card.
They're coming, yes, for a better life. They're coming for a safer life, an education for their children, but they're coming home. Every one of them said, we're going home.
C'est la terre de mes parents.
Because it's the land of my parents, of my ancestors. And it's like the shofar's call. It's a calling within us. I want to bring up my children in Israel, to live surrounded by my brothers and sisters, to live as a free Jew.
C'est un appel qu'on a à l'intérieur de nous.
Because it's a calling we have inside of us. It resonates as a desire to return to our land, to return to our country. Since we now have Israel, it's our place as Jews to be in Israel. And we're going to contribute to achieving this completeness so that Messiah will arrive and we're all delivered. And there is only good in the world and no more evil in the world.
Grunberg delivered a message to Christians.
We don't take for granted our evangelical Christian brothers and sisters who stand with us, with the people of Israel, shoulder to shoulder. We have shared Judeo-Christian values. I send blessings from Jerusalem for the support, for the friendship, for the moral courage to stand with Israel. True friends are tested when standing with their friends during the difficult times. And these have been difficult times, and so we're thrilled to partner with our evangelical Christian brothers and sisters, and we thank them.
We followed Deborah to see her sons who made Aliyah years ago. Then came the moment she dreamed about for 45 years.
Great, I mean, amazing. We were waiting for this for years and now it's happened, so congratulations, Mazal Tov. We're really happy to see her here.
Up next, relationships forged in adversity and new beginnings for displaced families returning to their homes in the north. After the Israeli government allowed people evacuated from the north to return home, some are still waiting until the situation is more secure. Others are moving forward. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl spoke with one evacuee as she waited to return, and then again after she went home.
Less than a day after the October 7th invasion, Hezbollah started firing rockets into northern Israel. 2 weeks later, residents began evacuating.
In 22 of October, we evacuated to Yarden Estate in Yesod HaMa'ala from Kiryat Shmona.
CBN News met up with Vered Maman in Tiberias, where she works, and where she and her husband Mickey lived nearby in cramped quarters for more than a year.
Living in one room, it's very tough. In the hotel, there is no personal touches. We don't have photos, we don't have pictures, we don't decorate the room. It sounds lovely and good and everything, but it's tough.
Due to their jobs, the Maman's dog, Chubby, had to stay back in their home in Kiryat Shmona, so each day Mickey would go and check on him. 2 of their grown children also evacuated, while their youngest son fought in Gaza.
I was very worried. I didn't sleep almost a month. My thoughts were with him every day. He didn't phone us. We didn't contact with him. It was very, very hard.
Of the residents who evacuated, about 140 evacuees stayed at the Yarden estate. While all of them have now returned, Vered spoke of the sense of community that developed among them.
We managed to feel like a little family because it's a small hotel. We built our family and our friends together, and now we are feeling that it's some kind of home for us.
Now most residents have returned to Kiryat Shmona, including Vered and Mickey. She described the past year as messy because of the insecurity, although they pressed on.
It was a happy year. My son got married, and it was a sad year because my father-in-law died.
And what she found at home.
I found dust, a lot of dust. And I started to clean. Nothing else was damaged, nothing else. Everything is okay, everything is in place.
Some neighbors had greater issues.
They had rats in their home, and electric were not damaged from the bombs, but they were damaged from not using them.
Now that they're back, Vered says it's fun to be home and she's not afraid. Even after nearly a year and a half away from home, though, not much has changed. Threats still abound and uncertainty remains.
We don't know what we are going to, but this is our home. We don't know anything else.
That helps the family look to the future.
Yes, we have a lot of hope that Trump has been elected. I am an optimistic person, and I see a good future for us. I want to hope it would be like that.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Tiberias and Kiryat Shmona.
When we come back, a sovereignty Seder. Rabbi Rabinul Weiss talks about a new way to experience the Passover meal. Well, welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. I'm joined here in our studio with Rabbi Rabinul Weiss, the founder of Israel 365, and great to be with you here. And you have something called a Sovereignty Seder. We're just a couple of days away from Passover. Tell us what Sovereignty Seder is all about.
Thanks for having me, Chris. There are so many different themes of the Passover Seder, and every Seder is different. Every Seder around the world is different, yet there are certain ideas that connect every Seder. And one, of course, is that it's the story. Seder means the order of the evening.
Sure.
And it's the story of the Jewish people going from slavery to sovereignty, to freedom, to the land of Israel. And with what's going on here in Israel, with the war that's waging, and with terrorism all around us, and with a fight over our national identity and whose land does this belong to, we realize that this year is the opportunity to focus the conversation around the Seder table on sovereignty, on Jewish sovereignty in the land of Israel, that this, at the end of the day, is the land that God promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the Bible, and that is what we're celebrating on Passover.
There's a lot of things that seem to be converging right now. President Trump is now president of the United States. He's going to make a decision whether or not sovereignty is something Israel should do. Mike Huckabee, the new ambassador, he's declared that there should be sovereignty over what people call the West Bank, but really is the biblical heartland of Israel.
Exactly. There's been more momentum for what we call sovereignty than at any other time since the Six-Day War. We made a mistake in retrospect. We should have annexed all that territory immediately. Instead, Israel saved it to hopefully trade it to the Palestinian Arabs for peace. That hasn't worked, clearly. And October 7th was the end of the two-state solution for the people in Israel. And now we have this opportunity, all of this momentum in Israel and in the United States. There's a bill in the Knesset from Knesset member Ohad Tal. He introduced the sovereignty bill to push for Israel declaring sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. For example, we have 4 cups of wine. The wine should be from Judea and Samaria. Or we have at the end of the Seder, we have the famous line, next year in Jerusalem, and we encourage people to say next year in Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria.
Yeah, and you also have, I think, encouraging people, you say, people here right now, they say, Chak, Pesach, Sameach, which is have a happy Passover. What are you saying?
So we're telling people, Chag Ribonut Sameach. You should have a happy festival of sovereignty, or a happy season of sovereignty, exactly.
Yeah, so when people go to your website, what are they going to see? They're going to see like a description of how you can celebrate the Passover? Sovereignty Passover.
The Sovereignty Seder, exactly. We made a video. It's a 20-minute video. It's actually myself and Donna Jolet, who's a Christian friend, and it's like the first ever Jewish and Christian interfaith Seder, Sovereignty Seder, where we have Jews and Christians talking about these common themes of recognizing the great miracles that God did for the Jewish people long ago, but also, of course, the great miracles that God is doing for us now.
And what kind of reaction have you had from people?
Well, we got a great reaction from a wonderful ministry called 10 from the Nations, and they are all about putting together Jews and Christians in healthy ways, and they were very eager to share this resource with their community. And we have now so many Christians and joining the Jewish people to fight for sovereignty here in Israel, so many Christians recognize the biblical heartland. And more Jews are also waking up to the recognition that the two-state solution is a delusion, is a fantasy. It's not going to happen. This is the land that God gave Israel and the Jewish people for eternity.
Yeah. And, Rabbi Rabinul Weiss, thanks for joining us, and Chag Sameach.
Chag Ribonut Sameach.
There you go. Thanks so much. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. And please keep praying for Israel during this crucial time, for the protection of IDF soldiers and all those caught in harm's way, and for the safe return of all the hostages. I'm Chris Mitchell. On behalf of all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we wish our Jewish friends a happy Passover, and we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.